For an Arnold Palmer blade or a classic John Reuter, you can find your center, be a straight shooter. Train yourself to respect the 3-footer. Bring out your Scotty or that newfangled lab. Your time rolling putts will surely be fab. Putt, 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 it's just like it seems. You can drift away and chill in a dream. Putt with your bros, go soak up the sun-free. Vitamin D is good for everyone. I'm just spitting facts, putting is fun.
Yes, it is, folks. Brian Manzella and John Ortega with your favorite putting show, maybe your favorite golf podcast altogether by now. I think we're maybe episode 6, something like that. But either way, wherever we are, we're very happy to be with you today. How is the weather in Southern California, Mr. Ortega?
It's going to be 74, 72 to 74, 75 sometimes. Every once in a while we'll get 100, but that's super rare. But we're right in the middle of real good. So like yesterday, a kid from China was with me and he goes, "Man, your weather's so good here." I'm like, "Yep, that's why people pay over $1 million for an apartment or a condo."
There has to be some reason. I mean, it's not because it's easy, right? I mean, if you wanted to build a teaching building on that driving range on the back, the permitting must be hilarious, right? I mean, it's not even worth doing.
I'd build it and just get in trouble.
Yeah, there's one way to do it.
Yeah, there's a lady downstairs that's building some kind of muffin shop with coffee, and she's been in permit getting, or whatever you want to call it, the process for like over 6 months, and she doesn't anticipate she'll get it done anytime soon. But it's a lot of, what do you call that? Red tape. A lot of red tape.
Red tape. So for today's episode here, this very important episode to me, is we're going to talk about becoming a putter. So there are 2 kinds of people that need to become a putter. People who've maybe never putted or went to putt 4 times in their life and can't remember which way they put their hands on the club, right? Those kind of people, real beginners. And then there are going to be people that I think need to press reset and pretend to be beginners and start over. So
I had one of those yesterday.
There you go.
Big time.
It's a thing, folks. It's like the great reset that the progressive people want to do. It's a reset. It's a great reset you're doing. If you maybe been playing golf for 50 years and you decided, you know what, I'm just going to start over. Famously, 2 musicians here on the show, Herb Alpert, the trumpet player, famous for the Tijuana Brass, still playing in his 80s at least. Took a little time off of recording, A&M Records he's the A. He decided he was going to kind of go back into recording, and he took some trumpet lessons. Don't think he needed to take trumpet lessons, but you get it. He went through the whole thing. Nicklaus, this guy named Jack Nicklaus, babes. Jack Nicklaus famously would tell Jack Grout every year, "Teach me how to play golf all over again." So the 2 kinds of people that we're talking to here today in this Become a Putter episode. Okay, now, John, question number 1 for our putting expert. First thing you need is a putter. So let's assume this person is very new. My beautiful wife, Lisa, she decides, you know what? I like the Putting is Fun podcast so much, especially the song and the guy from Southern Cal. If she's, if she's trying to be funny, and she wants to learn to putt. So, okay. So the first thing she would do probably is come next door and go to this putter stand over here and pick a putter out, and then we get it sized and gripped and all that stuff. But let's just assume somebody like Lisa wanted to start putting, right? And what would be your recommendation for the putter they select?
It's a great question. It depends on how ambitious they are. If they're just going to be recreational, I'd probably get something that would be, something with a line on it. We start with that, maybe a mallet in today's world. But if it was a young kid, I'd put him in a bullseye or an 8802 or something like that, or
So
or at
let's
least
just, okay. So let's try. Well, okay, we got different categories, but we just ascertained. So let's assume this is a adult, not in assisted living yet, and
have some of those too.
they have, hey, assisted living's got putt at some of these places.
And of course, I have a story about that, but we'll go there later.
We'll get to that. Okay, so some random 40-year-old person decides they want to putt. They know that at their local public course, they've inquired if they bring their own putter and their own golf balls, they can putt for free. There are places you can do that. City Park, right here in New Orleans. They want to call it Bayou Oaks. It's City Park. If you want to go putt right now in a practice putting green, they're not going to tell you anything. You're going to be just fine. So maybe if you're wearing a bikini, probably they might tell you to cover up. But other than that, you're slick. Guys, put your shirt on. So you could go in a T-shirt and shorts if you wanted to, I think. Maybe a lot of golf courses have some sort of dress code, collar, baloney, whatever that is. Right. Okay. So this person, they don't want to spend a ton of money, but they're willing to spend a little money. They're going to spend a little money if they try any other hobby, rollerblading, whatever. So what would you suggest this hypothetical 40 to 60-year-old female, let's say, that just thinks, I don't know if I'm going to like golf, but I kind of like the idea of putting?
Sure. Well, you could go to Roger Dunn's.
Or a place like Roger Dunn. So you're in Southern Cal, you have Roger Dunn's, and we have Edwin Watts, and then you have PGA Tour Superstores. Dick's are everywhere.
Sure.
Right? So go to
at the first two that you mentioned, Roger Dunn's or Edwin Watts, they usually have a lot of used putters. And I saw this the other day. A couple young gals, they were probably in their 30s, so now they're young to me. They wanted to try golf and wanted to get a putter, and this guy was showing them all the putters, and they said, hey, this one looks like this, it's supposed to help you in this way. This one kind of looks like this, it's supposed to help you in this way. Let's roll a few and see which one you think fits your fancy. And they did, and they eventually picked a putter. It's like, good, okay, you're started. So I think something like that would be appropriate. If they're at Costa Mesa, we have a lot of clubs that were donated or somehow or another people lose. So we just go, hey, want to try this one, try that one, right? So there are options like that. But if you're going to try to go for a specific type, I'd probably initially get something with a line, and I'd probably get something that, I don't know, at least an Anser style putter. I probably wouldn't get, like, for an adult person, like an 8802 or a bullseye or anything that requires a whole lot of precision. So something semi MOI-ish helpful. Even an older zebra. If you had Ram zebras, they're pretty good. And you can find those on eBay for $20. So something of that variety, just something that helps you aim, something that you could, like you were talking about with Lisa, you cut it to her length and get a grip on it that's appropriately sized and go to town. And from there
So you would recommend basically going someplace, getting a used putter, spending maybe 50, maybe spending another 15, putting a grip on it and getting it cut or extended or whatever. Most of the time it's going to be cut. For whatever reason, putters are long. I never could understand.
35, why. Baby. That's the way they were.
Yeah, 35. Even if you're 5'4", and portly, if you're like right now. But
it's a belly putter.
Going the other way.
It becomes a belly putter.
It becomes a belly putter. But anyway, so in my experience, the best I ever started anybody in putting were both of the Nunez brothers when they started playing golf. And I said, okay, here's the thing. Now, haven't given them a golf lesson yet of any kind, but they're going to go play. They had some borrowed clubs and they whacked it around and shot $1 million and they had fun and they were, okay, we're going to get into it. First thing you need is a putter. So we walked into the Henry Thomas golf shop, and I was working there at the time. And we got them a straight off the rack manganese bronze, brand new, never been laid eyes on by human touched by human hands, Ping Anser manganese bronze putter.
Year 74?
We're talking about 80, 81, 82, somewhere in there, right? So we're going to get to the other stuff. I don't want to like jump ahead just because we're giving a Todd and Mark Nunez putting story. But I thought the last thing in the world they need is a used putter, although they're all used putters are not alike. But I will say this. Anser type putters, I'm saying this to you folks that are watching and or listening. This is nothing to John. He's going to go, well, okay, yeah. But Anser style putters will bend pretty damn easy. The necks, where the shaft attaches to the head, is a little plumber's neck, right? Is what I think that is the correct terminology that Karsten Solheim figured out to help him balance that putter when he was designing it. You can't just bang it on the ground or fling it in your bag. They will bend, and all of a sudden you'll have this strange hook-faced Anser putter. Do you think, am I crazy, John? Or if you walked in Roger Dunn's, I literally went to Edwin Watson, rolled a couple putts today, like on my way here to record. My mom's retirement home is nearby, and sometimes I'll stop in, talk shop. I'm a little scared of like used Ansers. Am I crazy?
Depends. I mean, if you have a good enough eye, you can look and see if they're fairly straight, and if they're not, you can straighten them out. It's not a big deal. Like you said, they're easy to bend, and you get to a good loft and lie, and you kind of tweak it around. I did that yesterday for the guy I was talking about. There was a reset guy. He had a Scotty Cameron Anser style putter, and he goes, "Man, this thing looks a little hooked." And I'm like, "Well, let me look at it." He goes, I said, "Looks like it has a lot of loft, so." To a lot of people, that looks hooked, but to me, that looks good because I push my hands forward. But let's go check it out. So I have this, I forget what the name of the machine is. It's not a Mitchell. I have a Mitchell at the golf course and put it on the machine, and it was a 5 degree.
A putter, loft, and line machine you're talking about.
Yeah. I'll think of the name of it. It's a blue machine or whatever. I forget what the name of it is. But it was definitely had increased the loft. And so he said he's been kind to the putter, but maybe his son wasn't. His son was a guy who was an aspiring tour pro. He played at UCLA. And I'm like, okay, that thing found some airtime. Like after I measured it, the neck was slightly bent. It wasn't like obviously bent, but I bent it back to like 3 because this guy had a lot of ad loft and looked good. He liked it. It lined up better. Everything definitely returned to a better place for him. So I wouldn't be too afraid of it, but unless you don't have access to bending equipment or somebody that can bend it for you. But I wouldn't be swayed by that or discouraged to buy a used Anser. I just make sure that the specs were right.
So I went on the internet, this thing that you may be listening to us on, and a brand new Ping Anser putter is $219.
Whew.
Seems like.
Was that a milled one though?
Well, it's
or just the new whatever
the Ping Anser 2 putter, right-handed, Dick's Sporting Goods. Just giving folks that are listening some sort of like, I'll go buy a new one. No, I don't think it's particularly. It's got the classic Ping grip on it. I'm trying to look for this, like the Tamp. Like, okay, here's what it says. Product information. Like the timeless Anser, heel toe weighting, blah, blah, blah. Shallowed milled face. I think it's milled face, not a whole milled putter. Like the PLD pings. But $219. But if you've got the $219 laying around, there you go. Right? You could just start with a Ping. And you would definitely suggest a Ping, not giving Ping any, not throwing Ping a big,
I'll do it for you.
There's other people who make that putter, but I'm just trying to make a point. You walked into Dick's Sporting Goods, you plop down $219 plus cash, plus tax, cash or credit card, and you got it the right length. They're only probably going to have 2 lengths there, but they do have a repair shop in most Dick's Sporting Goods or any of these places like Roger Dunn, Worldwide Golf is the title holder, whatever you call it, the main company that has Roger Dunn and Edwin Watts underneath it. They'll I'll put another grip and size it for you if you're short or really tall, and it's not that difficult. But there's a good place to start. But you would say line versus no line.
Yes. I think it just gives people comfort. Now later, when they become like golfers or, more skilled golfers and, they're more than just casual, they become avid, let's say, then it comes time where, okay, let's see how you aim a putter without a line versus a line. Like I have a friend that played the Nationwide Tour. He still likes a line, even though he realizes he doesn't aim it as well. So he came in my other lab, my small one,
Sure.
and he tried it was like a Anser style TaylorMade, a Rosa or something. I forget what they called it. It was a Kiyama. And actually, this was a putter that they had made for Dave Stockman, had a little dot on the top, right? So he had a Ping with a big, giant, long line on it. It was a mallet. And he aimed that thing way worse than he aimed the one without, but he still liked the one with the line. So I think the line gives people comfort. Later, if they're more intent on aiming it better, that and they might want to just check to see which kind of line. Like somebody was telling me that went to the TaylorMade,
Kingdom,
the Kingdom, yeah, and talked to the putter guy there, and they mess around with things, and especially with the Spider, TaylorMade Spider, which someday we got to reveal that song. The TaylorMade Spider. Oh yeah. Which one do you like the
rock and roll version? There's a rock version and a rap version.
Yeah, I like the rock and roll myself, but a lot of people like the rap. But anyhow, they said sometimes the little tiny line at the top behind the putter face, but only like just a little teensy one, maybe half inch. People line up better than one that goes all the way across the face.
So at Edwin Watts today, I for the first time laid eyes on a TaylorMade Spider with a plumber's neck like an Anser and a little short line. And I went, I never really thought that the reason they did that is that maybe they found folks aimed it better. Okay, I'm not against it, but it should be noted that the two Nunez boys, the regular Ping, it was the manganese bronze, no line putter. So just putting that out there. Okay, so now you've bought a putter, reasonable size. You went to Roger Dunn, Edwin Watts, PGA Tour Superstore. You plop down the 219. You got the putter. Now, what's the first thing you do? You buy a 3-pack of balls, dozen. What do you do? What's the next thing you do?
For sure, you need golf balls. So I'd say get a 3-pack of balls, or go to the used bin and buy a dozen of them. Whatever, just get some balls. Usually, you can get balls for fairly inexpensive, especially if you buy the ones that are $20 a dozen. They're $5 for 3, or you could buy used ones that are maybe $1 a piece. Right?
Would it matter to you which balls?
Because we've at that point, it wouldn't. You just got to have something to roll. So I wouldn't be too picky about that.
Would you suggest, okay, so again, let's fictitiously, they walk into one of these places that we mentioned enough names already, and they got their putter in their hand and they're ready to go pay, but they are told that they need some balls. Would you suggest a ball that has a line on the ball already, or no? Because we're into the lines all of a sudden now.
I would just get one with the lines, and they don't have to use it. But if they want to use it, it's there for them.
Yeah. So there are balls on the market for people that don't know that have lines on them. There's a TaylorMade ball, I think, that has a line with another a line that's like as wide as if you just took a Marks-a-Lot and just made a straight line, like a line that width. And then inside of a yellow stripe, wider than any driving range ball stripe I've ever seen. And so I'm with John. If you're gonna I'd buy a dozen. What the hell? Buy a ball that has a line on it, and just look at the ball and pick one out. Doesn't really matter. But I think that because you'll have the option to use it. Yes. Can you buy the little plastic sleeves that come with a, Sharpie and draw your own lines? Sure. But you bought a ball. So now you have a dozen balls with lines on it and a Ping Anser 2 2026 milled face, otherwise not milled putter, correct length, standard lie angle. What's next?
either go to the putting green or buy a putting mat, but I'd just go to the putting green. And you might want to get into a group lesson or something like that, where somebody can give you the very basics. Like maybe it's a good idea to hold it like this or like this. Not.
So you would go ahead and take some sort of putting lesson.
I would, if they're serious. Why not? You could look on YouTube if you're a DIY guy or girl. You could look on YouTube. There's probably decent information out there. So any of those things would suffice, I think. Yeah, I think you just need to get out and hit some putts. But it'd be helpful if they had somebody watching them, giving them some feedback, and just the very, very basics. You wouldn't have to go into lock in your your angles and move your arms and kind of.
Would you rather that their first putting with their new putter and their new balls be on a putting green or on an artificial turf putting green or on a putting mat? What would you prefer?
Great question, because I've never had that posed to me, but I would probably just say putting green. So why not be outside?
You're trying to. Yeah, we got to be true to the song. Vitamin D is good for everyone.
I mean, why not to go out where people come into my lab and they love it, and when we do hitting in the hitting bay, they like the instant feedback, or like the swing looks like that, so the ball went like that, all that, right? It's great. But at some point, someone will, hey, can we go outside? I wanted to play golf because I wanted to be outside. I want to be on the grass. I want to watch the grass fly. I want to experience that whole thing. So I think if you can get them out on a putting green, they're going to experience the the sun, the grass, being outdoors, being with other people, that part of golf. And I think that's really salient for this whole thing.
How many balls would you take to the putting green your first crack at it? A 3-pack?
I would. Yeah, I like that. I mean, some people go, "Oh, you only get one putt." And it's like, well, yeah, but when you go out to hit range balls, you get a whole bucket of 100, right? And you're hitting from the same place and you're hitting the same 150. It's like, so I can see your point if you're trying to do this block versus random stuff. But when somebody's trying to cultivate skill, I had this discussion the other day with Will Wu. I was talking about spacing.
Who, by the way, is give a quick for the people.
He's called a motor control learning specialist. So he helps.
That's what he has his PhD in, motor control learning.
Yes. And so he said for developing golfers, it's better for them to get into a rhythm, like have one after the other of the other, like a block practice model. He says, because then they can start getting a rhythm. It's like if you're practicing free throws. Of course, when you go up to the line in basketball, you might get 2 shots or 1 if it's an and 1, right? And it's just isolated to that. But if you're trying to cultivate your skill, you're shooting thousands of them, right? It's like you're not waiting, 2 minutes between because, it's going to take that long to get fouled and go back to the line, right? So he said it's better for somebody that's really trying to, dial in their mechanics and get a rhythm to do it like that. And he said occasionally, then you do like little combines where, you go to a different hole, putt out, maybe breathe.
Okay, no, jumping too far ahead. So I'm Mary Jane Piscopoulos. I went and bought my pink putter. They said 34 inches is good. They had one on the rack. I bought a dozen of the Max Fly balls that have just a line on it. I took 3 of them. I put them in my pocket. I went to the Costa Mesa putting green. I dropped them down. Just randomly putt anywhere, certain drill, certain what. Just see if you like it. Maybe you can get your money back for the putter. Well, what are you going to do with these balls on the putting green?
I would do one of 2 things. I would one time, I just get them real near the hole and get them used to like stroking a ball and watch it go in the hole. So they have that experience. Like, this is what you do. Goes in the hole, right? Even if it's like a foot, just so they can, understand that. And, you'd be surprised when you get a beginning golfer, they'll kind of shank it or hook shank it or whatever, both ways, just doop, doop, and miss the putt. So when they can get the face square enough to make it from a foot or 2, they're on their way. So I'd start real close. And then I have this thing I have people do. I call it putt to nowhere. So they stroke a putt and just roll it out. And I give them this scenario. I said, somebody in your kindergarten class, they wrangle all the people that are still alive to a hotel. They say, hey, Brian, what do you do for fun? I play golf. I teach golf, but I play golf. And he goes, oh, yeah. So there's a putter there and some balls. And they say, show me how to hit a putt. You don't really hit to any kind of cup or anything. You're just kind of showing somebody what a putting stroke looks like. So I explained to them, just kind of feel like you're going to do that. Just swing the club back and forth and hit the ball, see where it goes. So experience that. So I usually will ask them to hit like real close to the hole so they get used to making the putt. And then also stroking a putt so it just rolls and they can see where it goes. So they're not constrained by anything. They're just rolling a putt. So that's what I would recommend.
So my recommendation would be...
Is that too weird for you?
No, I dig all of that. I like it all.
Okay.
Learn a reverse overlap putting grip. Even if you don't play golf, just go to YouTube or World Book Encyclopedia. All you got to do is Google reverse overlap putting grip, and you could probably just do it from pictures and not have to listen to anybody
for $50
off in the video. And just there's a reason why. Okay, that most of the Hall of Fame use that grip. Now there's the question from Mr. John Ortega: if they're taking a putting lesson from you because they went, why am I messing around with all of this Roger Duns and stuff like that? I went to eBay and I bought me a John Byron putter, perfect condition. I'm going to go get the John of John Byron to size the putter perfect for me, put the grip on that he thinks I ought to be using, and I'm going to take me a putting lesson from Mr. Ortega. And obviously, the first thing you're probably going to do is put their hands on the putter. Is that what you're going with? Standard reverse overlap?
Yeah, first, that would be my default for sure. Just put your right hand on, put this finger here, put your thumbs on top, and see how that feels. And then you could maybe, maneuver it a little bit one way or another, but that's just, you're basically telling them to put the right hand on, thumb on the top of the flat spot, left hand on, thumb on the top of the flat spot, and to get this finger kind of like you're shooting a gun.
Left forefinger.
Yeah, forefinger. Either go in between the baby finger and the ring finger, or between the ring finger and the middle finger. Just somewhere. Either one or two. And if you really wanted to go crazy, you could go over 40, this guy right there.
Yeah, sure. Or
like
Nancy
Brooks
Lopez with two fingers, right? Two fingers.
I had a guy the other day, he was over 80. I go, this is called the over 40 grip. Let's do two of them. It's an over 80. You're over 80. This one's made for you.
So what do you think about the idea that if you took 100 of these people and you split them up into the even number birthday and odd number birthday, 50 and 50, and you taught them all reverse overlap, and I taught them all cross-handed reverse overlap, and they didn't get any other instruction from us, but they were told there was going to be a contest with trips to, Hawaii or someplace everybody wants to go to, all expense paid, and they came out and they had a little 4-hole putting contest. What do you think would happen? No other instruction, no setup instruction, no nothing. Just the reverse overlappers versus the reverse overlap cross-handed.
Who am I put my money on?
Yes, that's the question.
I would say conventional, not reverse.
There you go. So I've had people tell me both ways, that claim to know something about putting, and I've been doing this putting thing for a long time. Before I putted, before I played putt first, before I played my first. What's funny about that? City Park had a, not the brand. There was a brand, and there still is. They still exist, but boy, I tell you what, they've been run down pretty far. Putt golfing games, but there was a putting course at City Park, and I think my mom and dad wanted to go on a date, and she had this gal that she worked with that was a lot younger, Bobby. Cute blonde, and Ricky was either the husband at the time or maybe they were engaged. So they took me out. I don't know, probably got me a hamburger, and I went putt was putting. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Putting, and went to the City Park course. I made one hole in one by hitting the banking it in backwards. Hit it too hard to the side, and it came back and went in. And I counted every shot, 79. And the first time I played golf on the City Park Junior course, probably like a year or two later, I shot 79. Probably had some mulligans and gimmies, but it's funny, I shot 70. So maybe I was into breaking 80 before. But okay, so back to the grip thing. most people who became great putters historically putted conventionally. That's the thing. And I understand the logic, the whole left shoulders higher and all this stuff, but I would definitely totally agree with John on the let's just start orthodox and go from there. Now, if you were giving this Mary Jane Bufutnik a lesson, Haversham, Fabercramp, whatever, you setting her up, getting her set up, you're doing the whole thing. You're watching a stroke without giving her a setup stuff. What's next in the first lesson putting with John, raw beginner?
I would say that I'd set her up some. I'd ask her to look straight down at the ball instead of like looking through the bottom of bifocals.
Yep.
A lot of people will stand straight up and they'll kind of squat down like they're going to sit down on the potty.
Yep.
But I'd have them like hinge forward from the hips and just kind of get your torso like this way, that way, and look straight down.
Bent over.
Yeah, just kind of bend.
Soft
from your
arms, long arms, soft arms.
Usually bent slightly if I can, but some people, they want to have them straight and feels good to them. I'm not going to discourage that, but I would encourage this. But either way, I would just want to get them set up so they're looking straight down at the ball. And if that required that they kind of bent
before they even hit a putt.
No, I'd say sometime after they've hit a few. Because at first I'd just want them to, like a kid.
You put their hands on it and just tell them, go ahead and whack it.
Yeah, so there aren't multiple things in their head. So if you just go, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to put your hands like this. You're going to put the club right next to the ball, and you're going to move it backwards with your hands and your arms, and you're going to hit it just like this. Boom. So they don't have like two things in their mind. So then eventually after doing that a little bit, then you maybe clean up their setup a little bit. But I'm just like you would be with the full swing. I would imagine you probably don't want to give too many ideas at one time because brains are only usually good at thinking about one thing at a time, as far as I'm concerned.
I would set them up. I mean, I'm going to set them up pretty much the same way I'm going to set up a aspiring tour player that needs a putting lesson. I'm going to set them up, and I'm going to give them some earthly idea of the stroke, which I'm sure you'll do at some point. What would that be exactly?
All right. So it depends on where we're having this session. If we're in my lab, I would show them the robot, and I'd show them, if you kind of lock your body parts in like this and you rotate, everything's going to have a little bit of a curve to it. And if you want to try to swing straighter, you're going to have to reduce some of that.
Okay, so for the folks that don't know what the robot is, so you have a Biv Wadden, the late, great Biv Wadden, designed wood and metal.
Yeah, wood and metal I have.
Wood and metal. It's not like you press a button and it swings. It's a gravity controlled robot.
Correct.
Putting thing, right?
Yeah.
That makes a theoretical, completely orthodox, professional looking putting stroke.
Yes. The only difference between the robot and like some of the professional putting strokes that I have captured in my Sam Putt Lab, it has a little bit more curve because the arms on the robot are locked in and they're going like this. Mm-hmm. And so when it rotates around its neck, the rotation arm up behind the head, I've got him sitting right over there. It curves a little bit more than human being.
So the track of the putter, so if you had a line going straight to wherever you wanted the ball to go, which most of the time in golf is a hole, right? And the ball was on that line, and you took the line on the Max Fly ball with the imitation TaylorMade stripe on it. You line that up on the line. And you took your Ping Anser to build face, otherwise not milled putter, and you put that on the line, and you aim that at the line. And then you have your reverse overlap, you have your bent over posture. If you duplicated exactly the Wadden putting robot, the putter would not go straight back and straight through in that line. It would come in a little and get back on line, hit the ball. Ball would go theoretically straight in the hole. The putter would swing to the left a little bit, and the whole time the putter face would stay pretty square to that arc.
Yes,
is that
100%. Yeah. So when I do it on the Sam Putt Lab 3D, it does mostly that. It might deviate from that a little bit, but here's my rendition of the robot on the bottom. So it has a little bit more curve than the one on the top.
Right.
So I see the top one a lot with, taller, modern tour players. They flatten it out by having their arms go like this in the stroke. It was not this dramatic.
So with golfers who have a stroke that are straighter back than the robot, they're doing some arm and hand and manipulation.
Yeah, who was the guy at City Park that told you to swing them arms?
Yeah, Al Jewell.
Yeah,
More.
so you do a little bit of Al Jewell, a little bit. That's how you straighten it.
Away from your body, backswing, away from your body, through swing. Not
teeny bit.
swing
Almost can't. Almost can't see it, but there is some of that because if you lock it in, it does what the robot does.
So if somebody were asking you the question in this first putting lesson, would you tell them, I want you to lock your wrists out and just
not exactly
stroke your shoulders and all? What would again, remember, this is not Brian's taking a putting lesson from John. Nicklaus is taking a putting lesson from John. A 15 handicapper at Costa Mesa is taking a putting lesson from John. This is a raw beginner, Miss Bufudnik. Haverkamp. That Bufudnik is her married name, and Haverkamp, or Haversham, is her maiden name. Go ahead, John. What are you telling her? She wants to know. I'm watching the robot, Mr. John, and it looks like he doesn't use his wrists. Do you want me to do what that robot does?
I probably wouldn't suggest that. But if I were to say something, I would just demonstrate this. I'd say you probably don't want to be too much like this.
Wristy.
Yeah, the windshield wiper, right?
Yep.
I'd say get the feeling of doing this. Put your hands back to back and go like this. Make it feel a little bit more like this than this. I would just leave it at that. Because I think if you go lock those things in, the angle between your right forearm and the shaft, you want to maintain that little flying wedge, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, sure.
Your right arm flying wedge. We want to do the right arm flying wedge with the flat left wrist, and we'll have a little bit of like an angled hinge. You're not going to do that, right? Just say, feel this versus this. And if you went like this and it moved a little bit, so be it. Just don't want it to be.
So just a little wrist. What about encouraging shoulder motion with no arm swing or a little arm swing?
If it's a short putt, they're probably not moving their shoulders very much at all. So I probably wouldn't bring that into the conversation just right away. If they had watched putting or somebody had given them a putting lesson, their husband or their boyfriend or their brother or something like that, then if that comes up in the conversation, we could talk about it. But I generally just want them to move their hands and the arms like this, and not too much of that. So just that idea, you put your hands right here, and then if there was like a spoke coming out, it travels somewhat in your torso. So if you go like this, the spoke's outside your right shoulder.
Sure.
Or if you go like this, it's outside your left shoulder. So just, if you had like a stick that you could put in there, just kind of make a little belly putter thing for them. Just something like that. Like I think Eyeline makes a rod that you can put on the head and you put it into your sternum. It gives them that idea. So if you want to do that, you get an aiming stick and jam it in there, put it in their armpit, just something where they could feel, not this. That might be appropriate at some point, but maybe not at the beginning.
A little bit of arm swing, a little bit of shoulder motion, and not discourage, but not encourage wrists.
I would discourage a lot of wrists. I'd bring that up. We don't want to be super wristy, but I wouldn't discourage, like you have to have them super locked, because if you look at the best putters, some of them, as they start going farther back, there's a little bit of, I call it hula hands. Their kind of hands are doing little hula. It's not like massive. Yeah. Especially on longer putts, uphill ones.
So, but the probability by the end of the hour is that you've kind of like got him to make something like a reasonable putting stroke. Do you like them to hold their finish? People are going to want to come out of there, bend over, and they're going to want to look at the ball and all this stuff. How about all of that? Hold the finish for 3 seconds, keep your head down. What about you hear all that crazy stuff? So
what I like to have them do is this. You're going to look at the hole like this. So you're going to have your head swiveled like this way. Jeff Mangum calls it, like, he goes, pretend you're like an apple on a stick, right? You got an apple and you're on a stick. Like that. He says
so
that.
you're gonna have their head bent over enough to look more or less straight out of their eyes?
Yeah, down at the ball, then trace
So
the
what
line
about the
like
back
this.
of the neck?
As much as you can get it like this, sometimes you're gonna be
Parallel.
like this.
Yeah,
Close.
Ben
just-
Doyle, my teacher, famous teacher, Ben Doyle, very, 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 very big on the back of your neck being parallel to the ground when you were putting.
you could park a
and-
picture on it, huh?
And Big Don Villaverso, 6'4", 375 in his prime. I don't know if Don was 375. He was 320. He was an inch or an ounce. 100% had his neck, great putter, parallel to the ground. Nicklaus, parallel to the ground. Tiger never really ever had his neck parallel to the ground, did he?
No,
Johnny?
no,
So,
no. So
he
that's
made
why.
his share of putts.
Sure.
That Tiger Woods guy.
Sure. That's why I think you have to have a little bit of flexibility in how you coach anything. And you see these ranges of like, okay, some good putters, their head kind of looks like, or excuse me, their neck, the tip of this light blue Sharpie, they might be looking like that, and other guys might be like that, So you got to allow for that, because you're trying to tell a guy who putts reasonably well like this to go like that, and for no really great reason.
So from a little bit of tilt to the neck,
Yeah,
to none, you're not going to make that on a.
Not necessarily, unless it's for a reason. So let's say if you're like this, you're probably, as you're orbiting your shoulders, you're going to create
Remember
a lot
now,
more curve.
not everybody's watching. So when you say like this, if you stood
That was
straight
vertical.
up ish, if
Yeah.
you stood straight up and started just looking at the ball down your cheeks.
Yeah. So if you're like that and you rotate your body and your arms, whatever, it's going to have a real round quality to the movement. And if you bend more forward, like your neck is parallel to the ground, let's say, and your shoulders are bent forward, and that your shoulders start orbiting more like vertically, kind of like a Ferris wheel versus a merry-go-round, then it's going to generally lend itself to you having a little bit straighter club head arc. So you can fiddle with that too.
So what about, okay, so you got the neck position, you got the eye gaze position. Do you want the ball directly underneath the eyeballs?
And
Remember now, not giving Luke Donald a putting lesson. This is Fabersham.
I'd say it's a good place to start. I'm not going to say, well, 90% of the tour players have it up their third eye on their forehead. Just get your eyes looking down at the ball. And they may or may not actually achieve that unless they have a putting mirror, but not a bad idea to say, hey, get your eyes directly over the line.
I generally do that and the neck. What the
Right.
hell? I shoot for the moon.
Yeah. There's some guys that do that. They're good. And other guys that don't do that. They're good.
So now they've taken this putting lesson, or maybe they watched the video that John Ortega or Brian Manzella or Joe Piscopoulos or Phil Kenyon.
See, if you take it from Phil Kenyon, you're going to be like short about $1,500 if
Okay,
it's an hour.
but I'm just saying you watched the video. We're going to have Phil
cheap.
on.
He's cheaper.
We're definitely going to have Phil on the show, and among other guests. But we're just trying to get our footing right here. Now they know kind of how to putt. They have balls with lines on them. They have a putter with a line on it, and you tell them, or whoever their knowledgeable person in the area that they live, there's a place where you can go putt on the practice putting green, or you telling them to putt 3-footers, go around the clock, so to speak. How would you have them do their skill development now that they have some instruction, however they got it? They got a putter, they got balls, they got a little know-how. Now what?
I do this even for experienced golfers. I have them find a straight putt and start out hitting straight putts. And probably
So how do you find a straight putt if you missed a Bufudnik or Ms. Bufudnik?
you
what
keep
does
hitting
that
it until
mean?
it doesn't curve. You keep hitting it till it doesn't curve.
So you putt the ball at the hole and watch the ball. So how do you introduce? So that brings us one off of that. You've already got this stroke. Maybe you were set up. You had a little putting mat. And you were in Safeway's produce section giving free putting lessons. Don't laugh. I gave full swing lessons in the produce section of Kroger in Louisville, Kentucky once. The people that I was working for, they set it up, plastic ball, ladies going by, buying their, squeezing their lettuce, and I'm trying to teach somebody not to shank it into the rhubarbs. So let's just say they got their putting lesson that way. How are you introducing the idea that if you aim this putter and this line and this ball and your stroke all at this hole and you putt it, it probably won't go in. It's going to curve probably.
Yeah. So
how do you introduce that to new golfers?
You mean finding the straight putt or understanding?
No, just the
putt?
idea that putts break. How do you introduce that to new putters, and what would you have them do once you introduce it so they can kind of get the feel for that fact that as Mr. Ray Ergeron, who used to play with my dad, would say, the curvature of the earth instead of earth.
Okay. Yeah.
He was a yacht like me.
Yeah. Well, I would maybe share the story about the first time I saw somebody putt a golf ball. Okay. I was a caddy. I was a caddy in 6th grade, so I might have been 11 or 12 up at Hacienda Country Club. There's just a big guy on the putting green in front of the pro shop, in front of the main clubhouse, and he was hitting a putt, maybe, 4 or 5 feet, and the ball's curving. And I said to him, I go, how do you make that ball curve? And he goes, you have a lot to learn, son, right? And what it just means is when you putt, 99% of the time, the ball's going to curve. But there is a putt on the green at any particular spot. Like if you have a practice putting green, 9 holes cut out of the practice putting green, where you can get a reasonably straight putt. So if you hit a putt and it breaks right or left or whatever, it has some curve, move around until it breaks less. Or it might start breaking more. If it breaks more, go the other direction.
So let me interrupt right here. So you got, just again, we hope we're, finding people who just never played golf before, just stumbled on, it's a cute song, and the guys aren't, too bad to listen to. So you everybody has seen like a matchbook car, like the little cars, that kids play with.
Hot
they
Wheels.
have the little tracks, right? The little tracks, and you shoot a thing and it goes down the track. Okay, so if you took a really straight one of these tracks and you raised up one end and you put the ball on there and the ball came down the track, what John is saying is the vast majority of all putts hit on planet Earth today, from the Renaissance Club that I have played several times, the home of the Tominskis, Nick, former club champion at 17 years old, Hurstbourne Country Club today, they're playing the opposite field event. I've played there a few times, even played it once since the Keith Foster redo in my old teaching home of Louisville, Kentucky, all the way to the practice putting green at City Park last week that I was on with Kyle Traub. It's a story for another day. So all the people that are putting all over the world today, hitting a putt, if it rolled perfectly down this Hot Wheels track, it wouldn't go dead straight where the track was pointing. Correct or not, John?
Correct.
So that's what we call break. Now, what's the reasons for this phenomenon? Why don't they go straight?
Because when they build greens, they intentionally put like not perfectly flat. Like if you're going to put down a wood floor, you're going to put down a self-leveling epoxy or something similar. And then you put the wood down on top so it doesn't move or crack, right? So when they construct greens, they intentionally, when they grade the land, they have a place where the water can go so that the water won't stand and mildew or whatever, get fungus or different kinds of bacteria that would kill the grass. Sure. So it's a design feature that you're going to have on every golf course. Firstly, for that reason, and second, it presents a better challenge. If everything was flat like a pool table, it wouldn't be as challenging. For both of those reasons.
Any other reasons that the ball wouldn't go straight?
If the ball's lopsided, maybe, or I don't know. You could probably, in the beginning of a putt, put slice or hook on it, and might have a little weird like deflection when it hits the ground, or it might hit like a depression in the ground, or that could happen along the roll too.
If you hit like a grass. What about the grass?
Yeah. You got the grain. The grain can definitely influence it. But here in SoCal, unless we're playing on bent, it's the Poana doesn't really have a prominent grain to it, and if it is, it's pretty negligible, so it's not even worth considering. But definitely
And the ball could be out of balance too.
Yeah,
right? The
It could be
golf
out of round. Yeah, if you were like Roger Gunn and you had the little spinny thing and you put the dot on the top, not Roger Dunn, Roger Gunn. He used to do this. I forget what the name of the item was, but it was a thing that would spin a golf ball.
Oh no, we had them at Protect Golf on 3000 Severn in Metairie, right across from Lakeside Shopping Center, where Lisa is the general
or
manager.
if you were Bryson DeChambeau, you could put a ball in Epsom salt, get it to the top where it's just there, and then put a dot on the top, spin it around, and if it doesn't come up exactly there, the ball's not.
So what John's talking about, these things are readily available. Like I'm sure you can get anything on Amazon. They're usually red for whatever reason, like our microphones, but they could be any color. And they have like a little motor in there. They have a battery or something. And you put the ball on this little like suction cup or something that's for it to sit, and then a cage on top of it. And you press the button and the ball just starts randomly spinning around. It's trying to spin around its center of gravity where it should be in the middle of the ball, but not all balls, almost no balls are perfectly that way. And the idea of the ones I've used, the spinners, is that you would put a dot on there's a little spot on the cage for you to take a marker and put a dot on top of the ball. And then I was always told that the dot had to be somewhere on the line you were trying to make the ball go. It could be straight up. Where would you put the dot? And that would be the same dot if you did the Bryce's DeChambeau ball and Epsom salts and spun it and let it rest. You'd put the dot on top, and then where would you put the dot when you putted?
Might as well put
top.
it on top.
Might as well put it on top. Okay.
Yeah,
And you'll find that there'll be balls that the dot will be perfectly on the line that's on the ball. Then you've got an extra special ball.
Yes, save that for tournament day.
Tournament day. Okay, yeah. So that's now. So would you tell them, hey, just go to the golf course and try to? How would you? Remember, we talked about green reading last time from a high end, but from a very basic new golfer, they understand that the ground is not level and the grass, some parts of the country, the grain and the ball is not. But how would you teach them to start skill acquiring the feel that, or the eyesight, or whatever it is, the brain function that I am now observing these balls curve off of what I think is a straight hit putt. And I need to try to predict this a little bit, or I'm going to never make one unless I accidentally knock it in.
Just a little blind squirrel. Yeah. So I usually use, and I think I've talked about this in a previous episode, I'll use one of those alignment sticks. You can get them, in the pro shop, or if you go to Lowe's, you can buy them for real cheap, like $3 or so.
Garage. I mean, not what they call driveway markers, right?
Yeah. So I think they use them in snowbanks and in the like in Minnesota, so that you don't back up into a mailbox. I have one
right out here in the very expensive driveway here at the studio in the sky. There's a reflector at the top of the driveway marker. You can buy those too. And that's so people don't tear up the grass in the house next door.
Yeah. So let's say this is one of those sticks, right?
Yeah.
So you could aim it, mostly at where you want to go. Like, let's say if the hole is the microphone here. I don't know if I can make this work. Yeah, I can. So I could aim this like on the left side of the microphone here. This is the hole, represents the hole. You're standing over here where my left hand is. And you put a ball here that's kind of in the center of the hole. This is parallel to the center.
Yep.
And you hit a putt. And if you started on that line reasonably, and if it curves, you just keep moving around till it's closer to straight, or you just keep moving around and see how much it's breaking from each location. And then if you really wanted to get fancy, most people have an iPhone or a Android something or another, some phone. they could balance it on a head cover or something. I don't know, a couple tees, and just watch the ball, roll from behind. But you can get a pretty good idea of what's happening when you just do this. And if you wanted to, you get a ruler. You get like a cheap paint ruler at Home Depot for $2 and put it behind where you're going to hit the putt. Put the ball an inch or two in front. Take it back. You could maybe put it right in front, or you could put it right on top of the ruler, just maybe an inch or two back, and hit the putt. And see if it goes on the line. Or you could take the ruler and aim it like straight at the hole and be like, "This is the hole. Here's the ruler here," and putt down the ruler. Anything that gives
So
you
get yourself, in other words, let me see if I get this right. Just get something straight, a ruler or a alignment stick, garage, I keep saying garage, I mean driveway marker. If for
Right.
people that haven't turned these into a cottage industry in golf, and line that up straight, just off of where the ball would have to go. And then, or if you're in the case of the ruler, maybe at where the ball goes, and then just observe when you think you've hit a putt, you'll kind of know after the first couple dozen putts that you could do in a few minutes that you probably started it where you were intending. Then you can kind of observe where it goes from there. And then just use intuition at first, right, John? Don't get in any particular system or anything. Just use your intuition and figure out where you would have to aim so that when you strike the putt, the curve helps you knock it into the hole. Is that
Yes.
the basic idea?
Yes, and I even gave that type of lesson to a guy yesterday. He's a kid from Westlake Village, and he was a George Genkas kid. He's big, tall kid, really good athlete. And I got him one of my groove boards. We went over to Costa Mesa, and I was just telling him, just aim this where you think you need to aim it to make the ball go in the hole. Since I'm all like mic'd up and everything, I can't go over and grab one of my groove boards. But so anyhow, it's about the width of the hole, and the little ones that I make right now are about 14 inches long. And I just had him aim that board where he thought he needed to start the putt to make it, and he just kept adjusting it till he made it. I go, then look, see where that's aimed. That's kind of like what we're doing with the stick or the ruler. And then he saw where it was aimed. And he go, "Oh my God, that's way more to the right or left than I thought it was." Or he even said one of the times, he said, "When I stand over the ball and from behind, it looked like it was, he put his hands out. He goes like 16 or a little bit more than a foot apart, foot outside the hole. And when he got from behind the hole, looking at the where it actually was aimed, it was more like 2.5 feet." He said it was amazing the difference in how much there was a disparity between what he visualized standing over the ball and from behind the ball versus when he viewed what it was from behind the hole. But that's a little bit more advanced, just in
But
general.
basically, if you just took again, Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware yardstick, right? It's about an inch wide.
Right.
Put that on the putting green where you think you want to start the putt. Put the ball somewhere in the maybe the middle of the stick or the first 10, 12 inches of it.
Yeah.
Try to make the ball leave the stick straight, because it's probably not going to break very much then. And then just observe where the ball goes. That's it. So that would be, you would basically say that something like that would be your first putting training aid, like a yardstick or equivalent.
Yeah, and some of the naysayers would go, "Well, the friction isn't the same on the stick as it is on the ground," but it's close enough. It's like, okay,
it's gonna get you. It's gonna get you going. Now, how often would you say? Because we got to wrap it up here.
Do we have to?
We do.
Okay.
How often do you think somebody needs to putt? Remember now that we're assuming pretty much a beginner before they're a good putter. And do you think that playing golf and learning to putt is easier or harder? And then I'll give you my wrap up on that, and we'll play a cute little tune.
Okay, so the question is it more helpful to learn how to putt on the golf course versus the putting green? That was the question? Or something of that nature?
Yeah, that was a really poorly worded. Here, we'll do it again. So do you think, how often would you have this person practice that wants to just learn to putt? And you would have them putt anywhere they could probably putt, right? Putt golfing games, their yard. They'd buy a putting mat on eBay, but they would go to their local putting green and putt. But Okay. The question was simple. How often should they practice if they want to be pretty good? How long is it going to take them? Question number one. And since this person is just putting and not playing golf, do they have an advantage or disadvantage to a person who started playing the whole sport at one time and they're also, hitting driver and 3 hybrid and chipping and wedging out of bunkers and then putting? Okay. Is there an advantage one way or the other, and how often would you tell the people to practice putting?
I'm going with there's an advantage to just isolating putting. If you want to just get better at putting, because you're going to have more time to do it and you're going to have less things to distract you from that task. So as a newer golfer, I'm saying for sure, and you can disagree, that's fine. Putting only and putting with some form of feedback, like what we just talked about with the ruler. And better yet, if you had a coach, and even if that coach was your older brother who's a good golfer, who's a scratch golfer and knows a little bit about putting, that would be even better. If you had somebody like yourself or myself that does it for a living, better yet. Yeah, for sure.
So how much practice? That's great. So how much practice?
How much practice? I would say minimum 2 times a week. Then you're maybe going to get a little bit better. And I would say more so if you could go 4 or 5, then you're going to get better. So it's like if you're going to play guitar, let's say, and you're going to try to learn how to, finger pick. If you do it once a week, you're not going to be as good as you do it if you did it every day, right? So
what's that about?
It's the reps. Like I always like to tell people, I'm going to give you some ideas about how to get better at putting. But if you don't put in the reps, so you can't hold me wholly responsible for you not putting as well as you had hoped to. You've got to put in the reps. So that's why I say if they were just putting, they're going to have an advantage over doing everything for putting. Maybe not for total score because you have to do everything to score well, but putting only for putting.
So the message of today is you could be a non-golfer, spend a couple $100 on a really good putter that you might putt with for the rest of your life, maybe, right? Or for a long time. You can go at the same place, buy a dozen balls with a line on it. Maybe take one reasonable putting lesson, watch a couple videos on YouTube, go to some public golf course, start figuring out the fact that the putt's not going to roll straight down your yardstick, and spend maybe an hour, 2 days a week. And in about a month, you'll be not terrible by any stretch. And within a few months, you should be a reasonably good putter. Yes or no?
Yes. Unless you're not present when you putt. Unless you're not present when you putt.
If you're not trying, it ain't going to work anyway.
That's where respect the 3-footer.
Not only, folks, is putting fun,
For an Arnold Palmer blade,
it's easy.
or a classic
Really.
John Rooter.
Anybody can putt. Anybody can putt.
Can putt. A little bit of help
Be a straight
helps a
shooter.
lot. Good putter.
Train yourself
And
to
this
respect
podcast.
the 3-footer.
Respect the 3-footer.
Bring out your Scotty or that newfangled lab. Your time rolling putts will surely be fab. Putt, putt, putt. It's just
See you soon,
like it
Johnny.
seems. You can
All
drift
right.
away,
Adios.
chill in a dream. Putt with your bros, go soak up the sun-free vitamin D. Is good for everyone. I'm just spitting facts. Putting is fun.